Hello, and welcome to Unity of Fredericksburg. My name is Judy Leganga, and I am pleased to welcome all of you to the Unity of Fredericksburg weekly online gathering. At Unity of Fredericksburg, we are advancing the movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity, a positive path for spiritual living. We thank those of you watching on YouTube live or later and invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you are able to attend live, we encourage you to join us in the Zoom community room for the full Sunday morning experience, including music, prayer, and connection. Our weekly newsletter includes the Sunday service link, and you can subscribe to receive that on our website at uofva.org. That's uofva.org. For everyone local to Central Virginia, Unity of Fredericksburg offers a variety of fun and enriching in-person gatherings every month. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter at uofva.org for all the details. Our message today comes from our minister, Reverend Cheryl Fair. And now, here's Reverend Cheryl.
Thank you, Judy, and good morning. Hello, everyone here in the Zoom room with me, and all of those who are watching on YouTube, whether you're watching now or later, or whether you pick it up on Facebook later on. Just so happy that you are showing up and taking the time to be present with us here at Unity of Fredericksburg. Our broadcast date today is Sunday, March the 9th, and it's the first day of daylight saving time. So congratulations to everyone who has showed up on time this morning. I have a few little one-liners about daylight saving time. Why can't we move the clocks ahead on a Friday around 4 p.m.? That would be nice, right? To give us like a little time on the weekend to acclimate, right? And daylight savings time in the spring makes a busy night at Stonehenge, don't you think? They have to move all those stones and everything. And one more. Daylight savings time is like cutting a foot off the top of a blanket, sewing it to the bottom, and having a longer blanket, right? So anyway, here's a quote. Here's a quote about daylight saving time from Winston Churchill. An extra yawn one morning in the springtime, an extra snooze one night in the autumn is all that we ask in return for dazzling gifts. We borrow an hour one night in April, or March, as it were this year, and we pay it back with golden interest 5 months later. So here we are. And in the first quarter here at Unity of Fredericksburg, we are following the season for nonviolence. And just as a reminder, that season is 64 days that we honor the practice of nonviolence. And we study the philosophies and the work and the lives of Gandhi and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So one of the assets that we have in this process are daily practices, which we are providing through our weekly newsletter. There's a PDF you can download, daily practices that come to us from the Gandhi Institute. And for those of you who follow social media, we are posting daily practices there that have been, the memes have been created by Unity Minister Reverend Kelly Isola. So today we're going to be looking at the daily practices for the past week, and a little bit more on that in a second. But those daily practices, let me just tell you what they have been, and I hope some of you have been following along, so it'll be no surprise to you. They are patience, appreciation, love, understanding, mindfulness, graciousness, and kindness. Now, when I looked at that list, what really bubbled up for me was the practice of loving kindness. So my title for today is Realizing loving kindness. So, how we can start using the practice of loving kindness in our lives with what's going on right now in our world, particularly here in the US. We have talked about loving kindness just a few months ago in September of 2024. We were focusing on spiritual well being, and loving kindness was one of the practices I talked about. Let me just give you a few basics on that as a refresher. So, loving kindness is an ancient Buddhist practice. It's also known as metta or the metta prayer, which in the Pali language, metta means loving kindness. So, metta is a cultivated or the practice of cultivating a mental state in which our attention is directed towards happiness and well-being for ourselves and for others. So there are lots of different versions with slightly different words, but here's a version that I will be working with today. May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be safe and protected. May all beings live with ease and joy. So, when we practice that, when we do the loving kindness practice, very often there's a suggested process that we start with the prayer focusing on ourselves. And then we move to extending that practice towards someone that we don't know well, we're not involved with, the person walking the dog that walks past, or the person in another car, someone that you see at the local shop, and do it at that level, and then move it to someone that you love. And then where it becomes really helpful, my friends, is that when we move to do the practice towards someone that we really are having issues with. So that could be someone in our lives or someone that we just are witnessing out there in the world and the things they're doing. The loving kindness practice is particularly useful for settling us in chaotic times. So here's a quote from Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron. Practicing loving kindness toward ourselves and others is as good a way as any to start illuminating the darkness of difficult times. Hear that one more time. To start illuminating the darkness of difficult times. So, when we are witnessing troubling words and actions that other people are doing, this is a particularly useful tool to help us to hold to our spiritual ideals and affirm goodness for all people. So you can already tell from the list of um, Season of Nonviolence daily practices weaves wonderfully with this practice of loving kindness. So today we're going to kind of go through all of those daily practices from the past week and see how they weave together and provide ourselves in particular with ways that we can take personal action in our own consciousness in these challenging times. And then that, of course, prepares our consciousness for what may be ours to do out in the world. So let's get going on that. So the first practice for the past week was patience, which some people might squirm at that, like, I'm not so good at that, right? So because we know that sometimes change happens really quickly and sometimes it takes years and years and years, right? So practicing patience is essential. Now, from a spiritual perspective, and that's what we're here to do, friends, is talk about the spiritual perspective. Patience is actually an aspect of our power of faith. So let's kind of walk through that. So faith is our capacity to believe in all that is, to believe in the goodness of God, even when our human senses are not being provided any data to prove it, no evidence, no outer evidence, but we know, right? That's our power of faith. So when we believe in the presence, the goodness of God that's in every moment and in every circumstance, using our power of faith, we can hold to that belief even in times when we're not seeing the evidence of goodness expressing, right? And with that power of faith, we are able to wait upon goodness with patience, with trust, knowing that even when we're not seeing it, even when what we're seeing is crazy, that we can hold, using our power of faith, hold to what we know is true. So here's a scripture reference. So they were talking about this back when they wrote the Old Testament. So this is from Isaiah 40:31. Those who wait for the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. So that sense of waiting on the Lord from scripture, they say that way, but just knowing that that goodness is there, just because your human eyes and ears are not showing it to you, you know it's there. So tapping into that and feeling as a sense of trusting and patience, right? This too shall pass. So here's a personal action idea. When whatever you desire seems to be delayed for some reason, choose to be patient by identifying at least 3 different ways that you can constructively use this time of waiting to support your desire. This seems to be like a perfect fit if you're going through a physical healing process, like say you had a procedure or a surgery or something, and you'd like to be just hopping up and doing your regular stuff. It's going to take a little time for the body to heal. So rather than being frustrated, let's tap into that energy of patience. Use that time constructively to think of ways that you can support yourself while you are waiting. Here's a quote from Reverend Kelly Isola from the weekly memes, the daily memes that we have through this season of nonviolence. And this comes at it from a slightly different angle. She says, in a situation where there is friction, rather than run away, I will move closer to the conflict and patiently look for a solution. Isn't that interesting? Because very often it's like, this is uncomfortable. Let's shove off. Let's do something different. Let's distract ourselves or whatever. Here she is suggesting that we move closer and patiently seek solutions. So sometimes it is best to calm that desire to act in some way. Waiting patiently is a choice. Choosing to wait and observe is an action. So remember that, my friends, and we can use to help ourselves while we're in this phase of waiting. We can use the loving kindness prayer. So let's practice it now and practice it kind of focusing on ourselves. All right. So I'll say it. You'll kind of get the rhythm of it as we go through it today. So you can just kind of follow along at home. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May I be free from suffering. May I be safe and protected. May I live with ease and joy. I want to share another version of this, slightly different, that comes from, this is a book I every now and then refer to because it has lots of little um, uh, good kernels of information. This is Self-Compassion by Dr. Kristen Neff. And she shares the loving kindness prayer with a slightly different variation, particularly for those moments when you're being really hard on yourself. When, say, you've made a mistake and your self-talk is all about, I can't believe how, you know. And so here is a version that she shares, which I think is lovely. May I be safe. May I be peaceful. May I be kind to myself. May I accept myself as I am. May I accept my life as it is. That's lovely, isn't it? Because there are times when we do need to work on accepting, right? There are times when we're going to work on making things better and all that stuff. But sometimes we just need to, let ourselves settle into accepting how things are right now. So, all right, moving on. I'm going to bundle up a pair of these practices from the past week. I'm going to tie them neatly together. Appreciation and love. We're going to talk about those together. So here's a quote that you can say for yourself. It comes from the author Louise Hay, that I'm hoping many of you are familiar with. Praise yourself as much as you can. The love in our lives begins with us. Loving yourself will help heal this planet. Good one, right? And when it comes to having love and appreciation for others, here's a quote from poet Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So just imagine that being activated with appreciation and love. So here's a personal action idea. Today I'm focused on personal action, where you can start it in yourself and then feel empowered to move it out in the world, however it is you do. So write down 5 things that you appreciate about yourself, or write down 5 things about someone you find challenging, or whatever your circumstances or your community. Just take the time to actually kind of, make a little list of things that you appreciate, because we can always, this is part of a gratitude practice. We can always find things to appreciate, right? So last Sunday, when it comes to love, we talked about making it our business to create more love in this world. And we were talking about practicing friendliness and respect, generosity and listening, forgiving, making amends, conflict resolution. Congressman John Lewis talked about nonviolence. And of course, he was a part of the work of Martin Luther King, right there with him on the bridge in Selma, which that Bloody Sunday is 60 years ago, I think today or this weekend. So he was there, and he talked of this practice that we're working with, nonviolence, as love in action. So here's another personal action idea from Reverend Kelly Isola. Today, I will focus on what I can learn to love about the person I like the least. So again, these practices do ask us to step up and see if we can work on embracing our spiritual practice with those that we have trouble with out in the world. So, can you find a way to appreciate someone that you find challenging? So let's practice right now. Again, we're working with this loving kindness prayer. So we're going to direct it out towards someone that we find challenging. May you be well, happy, and peaceful. May you be free from suffering. May you be safe and protected. May you live with ease and joy. See if you can work with that in the days to come. I mean, my human brain always kind of hops in with some little chatter in the background, because what my human brain starts saying, well, if this individual that is really bothering me was happy and peaceful, then maybe they wouldn't act that way, right? If they were free from suffering and whatever pain that they're carrying, would the outward actions change on their part? So I'm like, my brain will agree with it as I go because this is a practice that really makes sense. It's like if that person was feeling safe and protected and living with ease and joy, then their outer activity would change, right? So my brain, at least, joins right in. Okay, we're moving on to our next daily practice, which this past week was understanding. Now, it's important for us to split up intellectual understanding from spiritual understanding. So, on an intellectual level, we can absolutely work on understanding a situation that's presenting ourselves by presenting itself by doing our own research. So, like, don't be on social media, believe in whatever is up there. Do your own fact checking when you're with another individual, or if you're kind of taking in some media, listening, actually listening to a person talking rather than the reports about the person talking, so that you can gain an understanding. This is something we can do on an intellectual level because, I think even the best of us can get caught up in seeing some, going to a site online that you normally visit for something, and then there's a side banner over here with a little headline, and our brain just goes, ooh, bad news, and we start making stories about it. It's like, okay, um, we don't need to be doing that. If it is something that you feel drawn to, then you can certainly be doing it in a responsible way, right? If you need more information, find the information from a reliable source. So here is a personal action idea from Reverend Kelly Isola, and it comes from the social media memes for the season for nonviolence. Today, when I find myself disagreeing with someone, I will focus on understanding what they are saying and why. I will listen compassionately and reflect back what I understand them to be saying. So, this is pretty much straight up a practice that we used yesterday in a workshop with Sylvia Clute on reflective listening. So, we're not there to be correcting someone about you can't correct someone on their feelings, right? Their feelings are their feelings. So you're not there to inform or correct. You're not there to interrupt and share your version of things. You listen. You just listen and work to understand. So that's kind of on an intellectual level. On a spiritual level, again, we can tap into our spiritual powers, one of which is the power of understanding. And this power allows us the insight to understand the divinity in ourselves and, take a breath, in all others, even that person that really you know, gets in your craw. So, one of the things that you can do, a tactic that you can use to help yourself come closer to that with someone that you really disagree with, is see if you can take a moment to see that person as a baby or as a small child. Because, you imagine a baby it's really easy to see the divinity, to see the light of divinity shining through. Just realize every human being out there doing whatever they're doing started in that same wonderful space. And things happen, right? Things happen to our lives. So if you can take yourself to that point of seeing them as a baby, then that can help you to see the divinity that is within them now. And let's say you're having an issue with yourself, because sometimes we can really, like, why did I do that again? I haven't done that for years. Here I am doing it again. We can be really hard. Can you do that same activity with yourself? Imagine the divinity of yourself as a newborn babe and the divinity shining out. So, you can do again the loving kindness. So, since I finished talking about ourselves, we'll do it for ourselves again. All right. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May I be free from suffering. May I be safe and protected. May I live with ease and joy. All right. The next practice from this past week was mindfulness. So we start off with a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh. When you are mindful, you are fully alive. You are fully present. You can get in touch with the wonders of life that can nourish and heal you. So, what does mindfulness have to do with the work that we do in our lives for love and peace and justice? Well, mindfulness is all about being present in the here and now. And the here and now is the only moment in which we can affect change. So we can spend all the time we want reflecting on the past and how that has informed the current moment. We can spend the time we want kind of being anxious or dreaming up stories about what might happen in the future, but change only happens in the here and now. So practicing mindfulness makes us more effective in the here and now. When we're practicing being here in this moment, we can affect change in this moment. So the personal action idea for you is simple and it works for a lot of us: spending time in nature. The suggestion is that you do this on your own, not with any headphones or earplugs or someone you're going to chit chat with about the neighborhood or your groceries or whatever, by yourself in nature, paying attention to your surroundings, hearing the activity of nature, breathing the air. And again, let's do that practice for ourselves. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May I be free from suffering. May I be safe and protected. May I live with ease and joy. All right. To finish off this list of practices for the past week, I'm going to combine another two, and they are graciousness and kindness. So here's a quote from Elizabeth Gilbert. There is hardly a more gracious gift we can offer somebody than to accept them fully. And here's a quote from the Dalai Lama. My religion is simple. My religion is kindness. So graciousness and kindness are expressed many times in little small moments, right? Holding the door for someone, letting someone pass ahead of you in line in traffic or at the store. Little moments, picking up something for someone who's dropped something, little tiny moments. And more importantly, I think graciousness and kindness are expressed through the energy of your regard for other people. So your thoughts, how you hold others in mind, in consciousness, your thoughts, your feelings. So what is the place of graciousness and kindness in our practice of nonviolence? Well, one of the things we can look at is the quality of our thoughts, right? Are your thoughts nonviolent? We talked about this yesterday in the workshop a bit. So if that person out there in the public view is bothering you and you're cussing about it and calling them names, that, my friends, is not nonviolent. Those are violent thoughts. So can you cease doing that? Is it possible? And that doesn't mean that we're in a passive, non-active kind of space. The nonviolent work of Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King was absolutely anchored in graciousness and kindness. These were folks who stood in their truth and remained polite and remained respectful no matter what was being done to them. So this is something that you can certainly practice in your life to cease any kind of violent thoughts you're having about others, to send that energy of graciousness and kindness. So here's a personal action idea from Reverend Kelly Isola. Today, I will do something kind for no reason other than to be kind. I will bring beauty to a place where it is needed without letting anyone know I was the one who did it. I have a friend who told me about in the apartment building she lives. I think it was around Valentine's Day. There were like little heart balloons left around. Nobody knew who did it. Nobody, and it was just a wonderful moment of kindness. So today you can practice doing that and cultivate that practice in your life. And I hope that you will lean into this practice of loving kindness, especially with all the change going on in the world. Practice loving kindness. When you find your own thoughts in thoughts of division and separation, practice loving kindness. When you find yourself in thoughts of fear, practice loving kindness. One of the most persistent messages in Scripture is fear not. It's in the Bible 169 times. Fear not, fear not. Instead, practice loving kindness. So we're going to take that and move into our time of meditation, where we're going to continue this metta practice together for a while. So take a deep breath, my friends. We're going to begin with sharing the practice for ourselves, settling and calming. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May I be free from suffering. May I be safe and protected. May I live with ease and joy. Now take your focus and move it out to someone that you just see casually in your day walking by. And let's do that for them. May you be well, happy, and peaceful. May you be free from suffering. May you be safe and protected. May you live with ease and joy. And let's take a moment right now to expand our practice out to someone that we find challenging in some way. It can be in your personal life or someone you see in the news, as it were. May you be well, happy, and peaceful. May you be free from suffering. May you be safe and protected. May you live with ease and joy. And before we move into a time of stillness together, let's do it one more time and return to the first version that I shared with you today, saying all beings. May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be safe and protected. May all beings live with ease and joy. And now we will move into a few moments of stillness together. And we'll begin to bring our attention back to the here and now, back to the body, resting in the seat, the breath moving in and out of the body. We allow our divine imagination to embrace seeing us stepping into these practices we've been talking about today: patience and appreciation, love and understanding, mindfulness, graciousness, and kindness. Then we close our meditation with an affirmation. I'll say it for you once and then we can repeat it a couple times, okay? I live a life of loving kindness and I am grateful. Say it with me at home. I live a life of loving kindness and I am grateful. Let's say it one more time, okay? I live a life of loving kindness and I am grateful. So I am, so you are, my friends. And that's it for me today. I'm going to hand it back to our friend Judy.
Oh, oh, well, coming back to my body obviously was an issue. Thanks for watching the weekly broadcast from Unity of Fredericksburg. Visit our website, uofva.org, to learn more about our mission of spiritual awakening and transformation, and support our ministry with your financial donation. Thanks again for watching, and